we move on to other answers, I'm sure there will be other answers coming in, students. Let me share with you a little example that comes to my mind. In one of the scriptures, it is said that when you listen to someone, you should listen at 3 levels. The first is with the ears, but with the ears, we listen to sound. So we process the sound. Like right now, those of you who are listening to me, it's sound which the brain processes. The second level of listening is with the mind. When we join the dots and we try to understand what somebody is telling us, we correlate it with our experiences. We put that into our assimilation and use that. That's mental listening. The third is emotion, heart, listening with the heart. Now somebody may say, we're students of pharmacy, ma'am, ye kya bata rahi hai? How do you listen with the heart? She's got it all mixed up. Obviously, I don't mean this in the literal sense, but in the figurative sense. Listening with the heart means being able to not be judgmental, how to be compassionate when you're listening. And I'm sure you do it instinctively. In fact, women are very good at this. I'm sure there are times when you're talking to someone on the phone, आप hello का tone सुन के समझ जाओगे whether that person is upset or tense about something or stressed about something. Does that happen to anyone here? Type a yes in the chat box if you have ever faced that. That you can listen to someone, just say a word on the phone, just say, like I said, just a hello. And you can make out that person's mood. If any of you have that ability, or if any of you know that you are able to do it, please type yes in the chat box.
Yes, many yeses have come.
I'm not surprised. I'm happy, but I'm not surprised at all. Ye expected tha. See, what happens is sometimes we don't know we have these traits. We take them for granted, which is exactly why I have put this slide, and this slide is not normally there in other Westlac webinar slides. What is it that makes us super women? This ability of yours to listen to somebody and gauge, instinctively gauge, सामने वाले की mood का mood कैसा है? What is the state of mind? What is the mental framework? Trust me when I say it's a special power. And if you have it, you can pat yourselves on the back. Now that doesn't mean कि जिन्होंने yes नहीं लिखा है, right now you're rolling your eyes and thinking, what about us? Everybody is blessed with different traits. Here we're just taking a few examples. And this example, why I'm highlighting it so much, it's something women just do better. And I'm not saying that as a woman myself because of a sense of bias. Neuroscience gives us enough material and data to tell us that between the two hemispheres of the brain, the neural networks that are there, the connections which are there, are more for women than for men, which is why we are better able to toggle between logic and emotions. That can have its flip side also, but it's got a lot of benefits. Let me check with Anushka. Anushka, any more answers have come in? Anushka, are you able to hear me?
1 second.
Yeah.
No, ma'am, no more. Only yeses have come.
Okay. So maybe today we are in a mood for not writing too many answers on chat. ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं. That's not a problem. If later on you want to reflect on these questions, please do so. And nickname का मैंने जो आपको बोला, why did we ask you what is your nickname? The answer is because the nickname is often a clue as to how the world sees us. Now, please note, students, here there are two things we're talking about. One is the fact, who we are. The second is perception, how the world perceives us. दुनिया हमें किस नजर से देखती है. When we talk about campus to corporate, I will be highlighting both these things repeatedly, because both these things are factors which we should be considering when we work on ourselves. एक simple सा मैं आपको suggestion दूंगी. Whenever you're presenting your competence to the world, be aware it's not enough that you're competent inside. आपके दिल में, दिमाग में सही चीजें हैं. Your ability to present that at the right time, in the right way, in front of the right people, will make all the difference as to whether that competence is acknowledged and respected or not. So it's not enough to have the substance. You also have to be mindful whether the world is seeing that substance. उसके लिए ये nickname वाला सवाल था, and I think some of us might be finding it a little challenging, because pharmacy college students, we know, we don't just believe, we know, are extremely sincere. ऐसा कभी नहीं होता है कि we give you an exercise and you're not able to do it. So because it's pharmacy college girl students, I give you complete freedom of that choice, and I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. I will assume that it means you're still thinking about it, and please give yourself the answer. मुझे आंसर देना उतना जरूरी नहीं है, लेकिन खुद को आंसर देना जरूरी है. So from here, we therefore move to the second segment, which is all about grooming, body language, and handshakes, which constitute what we call the first appearances. Now, is it true that you don't get a second chance to make a first appearance? Yes, it is. But does it mean you should tie yourself into knots? Now, those of you who are in the final year and you'll be having online interviews and placements beginning. In fact, today's Times of India talks about college campus placements being starting now. Will it cause you anxiety and worry? It shouldn't. It may, but it shouldn't. So let's take you into some of these aspects. When it comes to grooming and appearance, what are the things which we need to be mindful about and why? Very obviously, when a person looks at you for the first time, be it in the real world or be it through the laptop screen, like if there's an online interview, the first thing that is visible is whether you're looking professionally groomed or not. So, what are some of the things which go into professional grooming? Let me quickly mention them for you. Obviously, it would start with your hair. And girls, especially, this needs to be told that those of us blessed with long hair, this is not the time to be showcasing the beauty of your long locks of hair. I have lost count of how many times while being there in an MBA admission interview or for some sort of an interview in the panel when I'm there, I have seen young candidates walk in wearing a Western business suit but with their hair left loose. You can leave your hair loose when you're wearing a sari and you're attending a puja or some sort of a religious ceremony. You can leave your hair loose when you're going for a party, let's say with friends. But when you're going for a job interview, I repeat, whether it is online or it's in the physical world, we always make sure our hair is neatly tied up. Why? Because we want the focus to stay on what we are going to speak. We want it to stay on our competence, not on appearance. So some of us might wonder that can I not highlight my appearance? Let's see if I'm taller than average or I seem to have a better personality or if people have told me I have charisma. I would say that's a double-edged sword. Now, this is a matter of personal opinion. I would say don't. Focus on competence and let the world also focus on your competence. Why? Because eventually that's what we want. We want to be respected on the basis of who we are. Our bodies will change with time. How you look like at the age of 2 is different from how you're looking like now, let's say at the age of 20 or 21. And it will change when you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on. Do you really want the world to respect you as per your outside appearance? Yes, we take care of what we call the sthan kal patra of our appearance. The clothes we wear have to suit the place, the person, the time, meaning the situation. But respect has to be for who we are as people. And the reason for emphasizing this, especially for girl students, is because sometimes insecurity in our minds, which is created because of social media or other pressures, makes us wrongly believe that we need to highlight beauty as an aspect of respect. Not required. If you are blessed to be looking a certain way, it's not a blessing at all because looks don't matter in the long run. I know what I'm saying is going to sound harsh to some of us and strange to some others. But very honestly speaking, you realize, ask yourself, when you connect with people, when you decide to have someone as a friend, let's say in your life, when you decide to share your, let's say, joys and sorrows with somebody, is that on the basis of appearance or is it on the basis of who the person is? You'll realize it's the latter. It's always about the substance. So we call that the head and the heart qualities. So therefore, what do we keep in mind about appearance? Coming back to grooming and appearance, be professional, be low key, meaning be understated. So if you just take care of these two things, you're good. Now, somebody may wonder, what do you actually mean by being professional and low key? So let me further deconstruct it for everybody's benefit. The clothes you choose, you can choose either Indian formal or Western formal. You can go with the institute norms, whatever pharmacy college has told you are the norms. Certain institutes, Western formal clothes are encouraged. Certain other places, even salwar kameez, which is professional, is fine. When I was a student and doing my MBA and we had placements, professional meant saris. Western business suit was seen as a very lazy option because you don't need any skill to be wearing a Western business suit, whereas a sari requires some degree of skill. Now, that is completely the choice of the employer who's coming in. It's the choice of the institute that sets the rules. But whatever you wear, make sure you're comfortable wearing it. Make sure you just come across as someone who's calm, competent, and professional. The focus is not on the accessories. The focus is never on long dangling earrings or a bracelet or some sort of rings. Those are not the focus. The focus is you as a person. The rest of it is packaging. Packaging is always less important than the contents of the pack. So as long as you keep that in mind, you're absolutely fine. Let's go ahead from here. What do you take care of in terms of body language? Again, whether you're facing your interviewers across the table or whether you're doing it on Zoom or you do it on Google, there are 5 things which really matter. The first is posture. How straight are you when you're sitting? Do you slump? Now, students, one of the big disadvantages of not keeping your video cameras on is that throughout these weeks and months, you lose the habit of sitting straight. आपको शायद याद होगा आप जब स्कूल में थे, there would have been certain teachers who scold you if you slumped and sit like this. I don't know about you, but I had teachers like that. And I went to a missionary convent school. And if any of you know what that experience is like, you can actually get rapped on the knuckles with a wooden ruler in case you're slumping. Posture is very important because posture, science tells us, allows your lungs to get enough space so that when you're inhaling and exhaling, your breathing process is deeper and more complete, which in turn allows your brain to get enough oxygen, which means you stay calm. So slumping क्यों नहीं करना है? Because it won't let you give the right answers in an interview. Now, who would have thought of that, right? You would have thought posture is only important when it comes to looking impressive or looking good. No, there's a science behind it. So therefore, the first thing to keep in mind is your posture. The second, your facial expressions, how much you're able to smile. Very often, because of nervousness, students tend to freeze. And don't blame yourselves if that happens. Nervousness is natural. In fact, किसी को अगर nervousness ना हो, there are 2 possibilities, we'll say. A, that person is very well sorted, or B, that person is very thick-skinned. Now, the first option is good, the second option is not good at all. So don't worry about nervousness, just breathe deep and bring the smile on your face. Those of you who are interested in the science behind smiling, now every point that we are suggesting actually is backed by science. Time won't permit me to go into all of them, but some of them I will tell you. Coming back to the second point, therefore, smiling ke piche science kya hai? Once today's session is over, I'm going to tell you the name of a certain TED Talk and the name of a speaker who will tell you why certain postures and smiles make a big impact in the brain. So it is said that even if you are feeling nervous or worried or a little anxious or agitated, if for 120 seconds you're able to smile, which will feel weird initially, but it works, try to see it, your body believes that everything is fine, all is well. So the second point, therefore, is very crucial. The third, fourth, and fifth, they're fairly simple. Eye contact is better done, of course, when it's face-to-face. When you're doing it online, you just have to look at the camera, which again is a little unnerving at times, but then that's just the new normal. When it comes to voice, talk as if you're just talking to another person. Don't go completely flat and monotonous and talk as if you're a robot talking to somebody else and the person at the other side thinks, is this a humanoid bot who's sitting on the other side of the table from me? That's nervousness. And that also happens. It happens in real life and it happens in the online world. So what I would suggest is, here's a little, I would say, tip or suggestion. Whenever during your college and your classes, your professors ask some of you to speak, or you have to make a presentation, or the professors ask a question and students can raise their hands or volunteer or reply. If you're allowed to unmute yourselves and talk, and to also have your video camera on, please take that chance, grab that chance and do so. You will get more and more comfortable with online communication because this is going to be happening in 2021 as well. So at least fourth year students, be well prepared mentally and be well prepared in terms of skills for this. Third year students, there is a strong chance we may move back and migrate back to the physical world by the time you are hitting placement season. But we're kind of keeping our fingers crossed right now and hoping, so better to be armed in all ways. The last point is about gestures. Do what comes naturally. Now, I'm somebody who tends to gesture a good bit. Women in general gesture more. Be aware that gesturing shows confidence, but gesture can also be a problem if it is overdone because it reduces the power that a person has. In the online world, you may need to gesture a little bit more than you do in the physical world because in the online world, you're getting to see just a small part of the person. In order to compensate for the absence of body language, one needs to use gestures and facial expressions. Now, ये सब अगर आपको ज़्यादा complicated लगे, no worries. Just go with what is instinctive and natural. Just remember, posture, smiling. ये दो चीजें ठीक रखिए. The rest of it will fall into place. Let's go ahead from here into handshakes. And what do we keep in mind? This is strictly for the third year students. Fourth year students, मुझे लगता नहीं है handshakes फिलहाल आपको काम में आएंगी. But yes, of course, later on down the line, when you are moving ahead in your career or if you decide to go for a master's, etc., you will be needing and using handshakes. So take a look at some of the different kinds of handshakes that are there. The first one, which we call the global handshake, is simply something which is called web-to-web contact, 2 or 3 pumping motions. It gets done in barely 2 seconds. The biggest mistake that women make when they shake hands, they don't keep a strong clasp. I have lost count of how many girls and women I've shaken hands with, and I want to turn around and tell them, women, just have a strong handshake. Otherwise, don't do a handshake, do a namaskar. That's perfectly fine. In India, of course. Internationally, it's not. You will. I'm not talking of pandemic times. In pandemic, the namaskar thankfully has become one of the coolest gestures for greeting people. But in general, when you shake hands, remember to keep it strong. These are some of the different variants, what you can see in the third point on the slide. So you have the double-handed, which is just to show extra enthusiasm. You have the elbow grip that's done by a senior to a junior person. You have the finger hold, where sometimes you may find men treating your hand as if it's fragile and about to break, so they just clasp the fingers. And finally, you have what's called the palm downward shake, when someone just gives you a palm this way and says, okay, be seeing you later. Now, this is very casual and it's rare. I've just seen this while traveling in Australia and certain other places. In India, we don't normally have this. In India, we mostly follow the US way. But one small suggestion that I'll make to you, because many of you will be working with multinational companies, US is not global. Just keep that sentence in mind. US is not global. What is global? Global is global. If you're working with a French company, you will need to know the French etiquettes and protocols for doing things. If you're working with a Japanese company, everything is going to change. If it's an Australian company, it's again going to be different. Now, some of you are thinking, हाँ मैम हम लोग का आगे का semester का ठीक नहीं है, मैम किधर किधर क्या क्या countries के बारे में बोल रही हैं. The reason is, students, you may be looking at the short term, but we look at your long term and we know that your long term is bright. In fact, I am in touch with some of your seniors who are doing their MBA after having finished their M.Pharm, B.Pharm, or they're doing their MBA with pharmacy as a specialization, again after finishing their bachelor's. Trust me when I say, your seniors are doing brilliantly well, so will you. And for pharma sector, more than any other sector right now, the world is a very exciting place. It's unfortunately for the wrong reasons, but it's there. So what are the protocols to keep in mind? Take a look, sorry. There are just 2 things you need to remember. When you go for a job interview, it is the interviewee who initiates the handshake. In general, the person who's a host will initiate handshakes with guests. In general, when there is a man and a lady, the gentleman will initiate the handshake. And finally, when it is superior and junior, if a superior is gracious, he could initiate the handshake. If the superior wants to show a little bit of akkad and attitude, then the junior initiates the handshake. So the last point can be a little dicey. Now, suppose you're ever in doubt, ke haath bada ke de ya na de. As a woman, especially as an Indian woman, you have the right to choose. You can choose not to give your hand for a handshake. You are not breaking any etiquette rules by that. Get that clear in your heads. Having done that and having understood this, if you're comfortable with handshakes later on, please go ahead and shake hands, not a problem. The other point is more technical, and this I'm getting into is really for your future career. So आप just पढ़ लीजिए. And I'm going to show you a picture here. So you can see Bill Gates over here, and you can see Mark Zuckerberg, and both of them were shaking hands with the previous South Korean premier, Park Geun-hye. And you can clearly see somebody is doing it right and somebody is doing it wrong. So use the chat box and tell me who's doing it right. This is Bill Gates, this is Mark Zuckerberg. Who's doing the correct handshake? Please use the chat box and tell me. Let's see what answers you come up with. Anushka, any answers?
Yes, ma'am. Mark Zuckerberg.
Okay.
All have
Okay.
written.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. So you instinctively got it right. Bill Gates has made two major errors here. A, he has pulled forward the lady's hand without extending his own right arm. His right arm is very close to the body. Whereas in Mark's case, he has extended the right forearm, which is what is the correct thing to do. And B, Bill Gates has his left hand in the pocket. Now, of course, when you're Bill Gates, you can pretty much get away with everything. But the reason, no disrespect meant to the man, the reason for showing these two pictures side by side is simply to help us remember, as ladies also, we would be extending our arms. But if you ever find yourself in this situation, what you can do is have a brief handshake or step back so that the person extends his or her arm. Because here, sometimes even the space, meaning the space bubble, what we call the distance between two people, that can get uncomfortably small. I'll take us ahead from here. How do you give business cards? Very simple set of 4 protocols. Giving and receiving both are done with both hands. When you give a card to somebody, you hold it by the top 2 corners, and similarly by receiving, you hold it by the lower 2 corners. Now, what the picture is showing you here is a casual way of giving a business card. This would be okay in USA or Australia. In India, we are still protocol conscious. Learn to use a card holder later on. You will be needing to buy one, and never write on a card, or don't pin it, don't staple it, don't fold it, don't hand it over to somebody else. Just be mindful that a visiting card is not just a piece of cardboard, although nowadays, of course, cards are getting passé, but they're still in use. I have myself seen them still in use till some months back before the lockdown happened. So just be mindful of a few things about giving and receiving. In general, as long as you give and receive with both hands, you're safe. Let's get into the third segment. Now we're getting into communication. What are the few things which we keep in mind? So we address 2 parts here. One is public speaking, one is interviews. In general, when it comes to communication, there are some simple rules to keep in mind. And you're going to find this useful everywhere, whether you're tomorrow doing some boardroom negotiation, or you're making a client pitch within your pharma company where you're working, or let's say you're doing your master's. These 4 rules will help you for all sorts of communication, be it within a group, be it to the class, be it to a faculty. The first rule of communication is, I'm okay, you're okay. Now, this is actually the name of a book, and some of us might have heard the name, some of us might have heard the statement. What it means is, I respect myself for who I am, I respect you for who you are, although we may disagree. Students, please understand, respect is different from liking or approval. You don't have to like a person in order to respect a person. So it's very important when you're talking to people, let's say you're talking to a group member in your class with whom you don't get along well, or maybe the last time when there was some common work to be done, somebody ditched you and at the last moment left you or the group in a bad shape. And you remember that. So therefore, when you're talking, there is some irritability, there is some old anger which is there. If you can become conscious about that and keep it aside, I'm not saying let it go, that's not today's discussion. Consciously keep it aside and come to a mind frame where you talk like adults. You talk with respect, mutual respect. You have to earn the respect from others, but in the meantime, you give yourself respect, which is why in Swaman, our tagline is Khud ko maan, auron ko samman. It emanates from respecting yourself. So I'm okay and you are okay. Both go together. The second, whenever you mention something, try and give the logic behind it, the science behind it, the reasoning behind it. Why we emphasize this for girls is very often you're going to find at the corporate workplace, girls will need to do this in a bigger way in order to have their point accepted, simply because of social perceptions. Again, it is not a blame game. We're not condemning men, we're not condemning society. We're simply saying this is the state of things. So we need to make sure our skills are high enough. The third is very crucial. It's great to express emotions, but try not to get emotional when you communicate. The two things are very different. Telling someone, right now I'm feeling really frustrated with you because of what you've done. Let's say a group member. That's a mature way of talking rather than actually saying, how could you do this to us? Now, I'm not saying don't do the second one. Temper yourself. Let it be a response. And you've heard enough of Veslak sessions to know the difference between a reaction and a response. So we won't get into that. A challenge that girls and women face is that our pitch is anyway high. Nature has made us that way. I have seen this many times during the course of my corporate career in investment banking, as well as later on when I've done corporate training. When women become angry or upset or agitated about something, because of their raised voices and pitches, if they're not careful about what is happening, they can actually end up putting off a lot of people in the room, or they can actually end up antagonizing people. And then men become dismissive, which they shouldn't be doing. But then that happens. They'll smirk and say, as usual, she's getting into hysterics. And every time I hear that statement, my blood boils because I know what that woman is trying to express is something. But unfortunately, it's like throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Men are going to be dismissive of the words because of the way in which the words are said. So students, here's a little mantra for you. आप क्या बोलते हो उस पे तो ध्यान दो, लेकिन कैसे बोलते हो उस पे भी ध्यान दो. You'll find that you're far more successful and far happier. The last point, whenever you find there's a conflict, try and see if you can find a middle path, a place of convergence. Because घर में हो या कॉलेज में हो, आपके प्रोफेसर्स के साथ इंटरेक्शन में, आपके फ्रेंड्स के साथ इंटरेक्शन में, tomorrow with the corporate world, there will be differences of opinion. We don't live in some sort of a utopia where everybody is happy and everybody is working in perfect harmony with each other. I'll be scared if the world becomes like that. So the thing is, conflicts are going to be there, and conflicts are not bad. They can actually bring out the best in you. But we all have to teach ourselves the art of handling those conflicts in the right manner. And that's a skill that's acquired with time, consciously and deliberately. So one of the best things to do when you're resolving a conflict and trying to communicate is to find the middle path. Let's go into public speaking. Very simple. एक slide, 3 point. What, why, how. Any sort of public speaking that you do can be deconstructed into these 3 elements. What are you telling people? What's the purpose behind it? Meaning, why are you telling them that? उनको convince करना है, persuade करना है, cajole करना है, डांटना है. There are times when you're scolding people through communication. Let's say tomorrow you're working with a company and you're asked to talk to a group of people and ask them why they haven't performed well. Now, the way in which you talk there will be very different from, let's say, you're trying to motivate a group of people. And that in turn will be different from if you're trying to present some data, some statistics, some numbers, some research findings to people. The last point, how. इसके लिए कोई formula नहीं है, there's no one size fits all. Classroom में जब आप presentation बनाते हो, that will follow a certain method, so the how will be different. Tomorrow, let's say you have an interview and you're talking to a prospective employer, how you present yourself is going to be completely different. Unlike a professor who knows you and therefore gives you the benefit of the doubt, a stranger who's meeting you for the first time in maybe an online world doesn't know you at all. So you have to start from the basics. So take care of these three things and write them down. Whatever topic you have on hand, let's say that you're again preparing for a job interview, or you're making some sort of a presentation for your class, maybe on behalf of your group you're going to be speaking. Ask yourself these three questions, prepare a mind map, then structure your points and speak. You're going to be fine. When it comes to personal interviews, what are the things to keep in mind? दो quick slides दिखाना है आपको. Very obviously, the first is any interview focuses on three things: yourself, the subjects that you have studied, because इसमें से company को value मिलेगा, and the alignment with the company and the goals. Let's say you're a great fan of Kiran Mazumdar-Shaw and you think the innovation happening in a pharma company are absolutely superb. And for you, that's a dream company to work with. You will have to see what are your traits and what are the subjects you've studied or research papers you have done maybe or written or presented, which tie up with something in biotech so that you can make this alignment and convince the employer who's from here, the interviewer who's from here, that look, I'm good and I have value. Now, this alignment, somebody may ask, what is special about this in terms of girls? Why are we including this in Swaman and why not just a general campus to corporate? The reason is, again, society. In India, perception is such that you'll have to work a little bit harder to tell people that your value is going to come to the company. And companies are also smart. They know women are very diligent, very sincere, very hardworking, less likely to shirk off work, less likely to talk in a bad way or have a bad attitude. So women employees are very much valued, provided they are confident enough about these two parts. So students, please focus on these two parts and then just see what is the alignment with the company. Obviously, know what's unique about you. Prepare the answers to a few common questions. You can use a lot of websites which are there for that. You don't need to go to any coach or pay a lot of money. I'll in fact strongly discourage you from doing that, because from what inputs I get from students, it's a scam. And sometimes you end up really overpaying and not getting much value. So don't let your anxieties override your common sense. And pay attention, obviously, to your body language, what you have around with you, pen, paper, your files, etc. Because even for an online thing, you might need to quickly quote something. Last, keep things in perspective. एक आंसर आपने गलत दिया उसका मतलब नहीं कि बाकी का इंटरव्यू खराब जाएगा. Let's say you were asked a question about a subject which was there in your first year, and that frequently happens. Us students, we do it all the time in interviews. I have myself done it, not so much to look at the knowledge. Yes, we are trying to see if you still remember your basics, but more than that, we're also trying to see how you handle such a situation. So as long as you keep a calm mind and you're honest and you answer properly, you will again be in a good space. These are things I have mentioned before in the previous segment on body language. So I'll just let you read the slide. Take a look. I'm simply going to ask you to focus on this last point here. Focus on your value add. Nervousness, especially amongst girls. In general, students, let me tell you, if we have male and female candidates of equal competence, for some reason, the boys project greater confidence than the girls do. There are exceptions, of course, but this is a general rule. When I try to probe why, I find that girls are very good, but they doubt that they're very good, which is sad. I'm sure you'll agree with me that is not the way it should be. So what I would say is, whenever you're preparing for your interviews, ये जो पूरा campus to corporate आज का हमारा discussion है, and within some months, those of you who are in the final year will be heading out into the job world, and right now you'll be planning for your campus placements. Ask yourself, what's your value add? Write it down on paper. What are the traits of yours which a company will cherish? What is the learning that you have which a company will find useful? लिखिए इन चीजों को, दिमाग में खाली मत सोचिए. You need to construct these answers because you get barely a few seconds of time for every question that is asked to you. Unless you have a good idea कि आपको क्या-क्या बोलना है, you will not at that point of time be able to do justice to all that you have to say. So homework is very, very crucial if you want to be able to put your best foot forward. The last segment, we now come to how do you nurture the self. Now somebody may say campus to corporate में इसका क्या फायदा है? वेस्लाक में तो already हमने सुना है दूसरे webinars में how to take care of yourself. Hang on girls, this is just a quick recap I would say for a few things that are very important. The first thing that I'll suggest to us within campus to corporate is self-acceptance. The biggest mistake which we make is to compare ourselves to others and feel small, feel diminished, feel I'm not good enough. That's a myth. Whoever you are, whatever you are, the very fact that you exist is good enough. And don't just think this is P.R. Mukherjee talking. These are actually our wise masters, our wise scriptures saying so. I'm just the messenger. You need to start with this understanding at the base level. Because without this, we are forever trying to wear masks in order to win approval from people. And women in India, we do this all the time without even being aware. Seeking approval from others, seeking validation from others. If you wear something new and your friend says, you're looking nice, you'll say, Acha, oh, this is so old, ye garment ekdam purana hai. I can count in the fingers of one hand how many women I know who will say a simple thank you with a smile and accept the compliment. We are bad at accepting compliments. And it's so funny. Think about it for a while. It's so funny. Why? Because we want others to always validate us and we think we're not worthy enough. We're forever defining ourselves as per our roles. Daughter, sister, friend, at work, the colleague, later on, once you're married, wife, mother, daughter-in-law, sister-in-law, all those, they're roles. You are an individual. A role is something that you do temporarily. Understand that and accept that, love yourself. This will mark a big shift in the thinking about yourself. आप में जो competence है, it will flow out very spontaneously when you're talking to somebody. You'll not find बाद में कि I should have said that, shucks, I forgot to say it. वो feeling आप में नहीं आएगा अगर ये आप पहले से ध्यान रखते हो. The Japanese have a lovely word called ikigai. For women, this is even more crucial, although I would say even for men, for our boy students, this is important. Alignment of what we do well with what we enjoy, with what society needs. इन तीनों चीजों का जहां पे मिश्रण होता है, the overlap. Let's say you do certain subjects well, but you don't enjoy them. And there are other subjects you enjoy, but you're not very good at scoring marks. And then there is what society needs. Find the happy spot which aligns three things. इसको भी बैठ के आपको लिखना है. Now, why are we talking about this? Because when campus season arrives and placement season arrives, many of us will be confused कि ये situation में कौन से job को हाँ बोले. And there'll be a lot of pressure कि नौकरी अगर मिल रही है तो ले लो. भले it may be in some area that you don't like or don't enjoy. Pandemic है, global crisis, blah, blah, blah. True, granted. But एक बार ये आप खुद के लिए exercise करके रखो so that at least in your head you're clear that if I have 2 options or 3 options, कौन सा वाला option मेरे लिए सबसे सही है. And students' obvious common sense will tell you, आपके लिए जो सही है, it's not necessary, it should be the best choice for your friend or for the batch topper or for the classmate in class whom you want to follow, etc. None of that matters. You do this exercise and you see how can you align your competence with what you enjoy, with what society needs. Anything in life is about our priority management, which in turn is linked to our time management. All of us are blessed with 1,440 minutes a day. अगर आज से आपको शुरू करना है, मान लीजिए now we are reaching the end of October and those of you in the final year are well into the placement season. In the third year also you'll start thinking. Ask yourself, can I devote half an hour every day or perhaps a couple of hours maybe on a Saturday or a Sunday to this aspect of my life? Yes, we have classes, we have maybe lab work or journal work, पता नहीं, if you're doing it online, perhaps submissions होंगे, exams होंगे, घर का काम है, because I'm sure many of you are helping out at home, if not all of you. Still the point is, everybody gets 24 hours. How do you carve it up into different chunks? We can actually manage our emotions better when we're able to handle our time better. For women, this is very crucial. It's crucial for the men as well, but women, we are masters of putting ourselves low on the list of priorities for health. Physical fitness is very, very important. आप क्या खाते हो, खुद को कैसे ठीक रखते हो, all of these are crucial. And don't get intimidated by these postures. This is just a sign to remind us to stretch, to move, to walk around, especially during the pandemic when online classes are happening. I don't know how many of you have ended up gaining weight. I've received frantic emails from some of my former students, girl students, are saying, ma'am, I've disastrously put on a lot of weight. And anxiety causes us sometimes to do comfort eating. So that doesn't help either. Well, no problem. You're young. Mistakes can be rectified. Habits can be changed. Sirf yaad rakhiye, our bodies are our gifts, the asset which we have, within which we have our mind, within which there's the intellect, and then there is soul. I won't go to that level, but the point is, it's correctly said, the body is like a temple. So keep it that way. Let's use our bodies well and not abuse our bodies. Very crucial for the mind to be fresh and productive by reading good mind food, listening to good mind food, audio podcasts, good books, good conversations with friends, listening to people who are inspiring. Avoid WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook if what you're doing is bad news, bad news, bad news. Too much of bad news, we call that doom scrolling. I'm sure aap logon ne suna hoga on social media. That's a new catchphrase. That's bad. But then what's a problem if it's too much of good news? Happy news of people? Yeah, I got a job, or yeah, I just got into a great relationship, or yeah, I'm doing such and such research, or I'm presenting a paper somewhere. Understand social media allows us to put forward our curated lives onto the electronic ether. Don't get swayed by that and don't let it make you feel sad or disappointed or depressed. I know students, so many of them come to me and they say, ma'am, it looks like everybody's life is good, but not mine. That's a myth. If you're a walking, talking, existing human being, you will have problems. But yes, you are not going to beat a drum and tell the whole world about it. तो संभाल के रहिए, ब्रेन को संभाल के रखिए और उसके लिए ब्रेन में अच्छी चीजें डालिए. Just like in the previous slide, we saw taking care of our bodies is important. Taking care of our minds is equally crucial. Let me show you on this slide a picture of a bunch of people. What emotion would you link them to? Please use the chat box and tell me what emotion is the linkage here. What emotion are we talking about? उनको देख के आपको क्या महसूस होता है? Please use the chat box and let me know.
The answers have started coming in. Happy, smile,
Okay.
joy, happiness, happiness.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for writing, students. That's good that you're sharing. And thanks also to the students who participated in the previous questions and you gave your answers, because that's important for us sometimes. Well, those of you, all of you who wrote joy, happiness, smiles, etc., you're not wrong. But do you know what's common to all these people? Can any of you guess? Does anyone want to write in the chat box what's common to all the people that you see here? There are 16 people you can see on the screen. Each one of them has died by suicide. This is Whitney Houston, Marilyn Monroe. I'll not go into the details of all of them. Robin Williams, comedian. Amy Winehouse, powerhouse of talent, a singer. Anthony Bourdain, world-renowned chef. Each one of them has died by suicide. And yet they were so talented, so intelligent. One would think they're God's chosen people. Some of you are thinking, wait a minute, is ma'am trying to scare us? She's showing us happy, smiling faces and then saying they've all taken their own lives? How sad is that? Is this some sort of a dark humor, a twisted way to end a best luck session? No. We're making a very important point here. Nurture your mind in a guilt-free way, because what we are inside is what matters. बाहर जो दुनिया को दिखाते हैं, that could be a smile. That doesn't mean that the person is not crying and empty and hollow inside. अंदर जो है, that is important. And again, I'm focusing this for our girl students and for women, because from the time we are young, there is this narrative, this script sometimes that many of us get from society, that we have to be useful to others, which is true. Every human being has a certain utility for society. लेकिन खुद के लिए time निकालना, for your own, making sure you eat your food properly, making sure you do your exercise, etc., that can become challenging as time goes by. I have heard of families where during the pandemic, I've had girl students say that, ma'am, I'm helping out my mother at home, but my brother doesn't do much and he's of a similar age to me, and my parents are okay with it. How unfair is that? And when they ask me that question, I honestly don't have a reply. I want to talk to the parents and tell them that, what do you think you're doing? Not for a moment I'm saying that the girl is only getting burdened. Yes, she is, but that's not the main point. The point is the boy is also not getting the right life skills which he needs. Both need the same life skills. Both should be able to prepare a meal also, and tomorrow both should be able to drive a car also and go to their respective workplace. It's not कि तुम लड़की हो तो तुमको खाना बनाना है, या okay, you're doing B farm, then do M farm or whatever, फिर job, but then settled, get settled in life. Be guilt-free about nurturing yourself. Be guilt-free about scripting your life. Be guilt-free about deciding you have worth, you have competence, and you're going to give that in your own special way to the world. It's very important for us to keep that in mind. So with this, we remind ourselves, har din, we have to have good mind food, just like you know about vitamins and supplements, and as students of pharmacy, you know about so many things. Make sure you're feeding your mind in the same way. Second, एक साथ बहुत सारे habits change करना, recipe for disaster. Don't try to do that. 1 or 2 habits at a time, try and make a change. Third, very crucial, be patient with yourselves. क्या होता है, time to time, all of us will face this. You will start doing something well, let's say waking up at a certain time, improving your reading habits, and then you'll get derailed. कुछ ना कुछ हो जाता है. Either you lose motivation, or there's some important assignment, or there are exams around the corner. वो habit थोड़ा रुक जाता है. And then picking up that habit again seems so difficult. No problem, let it be difficult, just get back on track. Remind yourself कि जो करना है वो करना है, उसको छोड़ना नहीं है. Yes, maybe I'm not feeling well on a certain day, I may not do my pranayam or yogasan that day. That's absolutely fine, that's sensible in fact. But the moment you're gauging that, no, my body is feeling better, get back to it. तभी excuses मत बनाना. तो be patient with yourself and also be firm with yourself. So therefore, this, although we just had Vijayadashami 2 days ago for Western India and 1 day ago for Eastern India, reason for showing this photograph, this has got not so much of a religious connotation, students, please understand. It's simply to say that a woman is someone who behaves as if she's got 10 hands. Multitasking, multi-skilling. There's no other connotation to the photograph. So in case you want to walk away with simply the concept, you're free to do so. But we are like this. We have the ability to hold in one hand our laptop phones, in the other hand, the skillet with which you're cooking something. And as time goes by, as the years go by, girls, you are going to find you will more and more use your abilities to multi-skill, to be good with all your roles. वो तो आप अच्छे से कर लोगे, बहुत खूबी से सारे roles आप निभाओगे. Focus on your happiness, focus on your health. वो ठीक तो सब ठीक. अंदर से हम nurtured रहे, बाहर की दुनिया को क्या दिखाना है वो automatically ठीक से हो जाएगा. If this is compromised, then there's a problem. So we finally end by reminding you, you are your own brand. Your name is a brand. Your personality is a brand. Ask yourself, what does your brand stand for? Do you stand for competence, for wisdom, for kindness, for professionalism? आपके brand में कौन सी चीजें हैं which today the world understands in a smaller way, perhaps tomorrow they'll understand in a much larger way. So with this, we reach the conclusion of our session today. Thank you so much for your patience, and I hope I've been on time. Yeah, just exactly at the hour. So let me just go to the stop sharing. All right, and this is a good time to ask you. Thank you so much. Oh, welcome, my dears. I can see thank you messages coming up on chat. If you have any questions, you're most welcome to write in the chat box. Okay, the feedback form link, I think, has been shared. Okay, the attendance link has been shared. Anushka, can I please request you? Yeah, I can see it up, I think. The link for feedback has also gone. So please make sure you fill that and let us know. अगर आपको लगता है कि for girls who are in the final year or maybe the third year, ऐसे sessions होने चाहिए, please let us know. We will be happy to do them for the other institutes as well. Let us know if you feel it's useful. A lot of thank you messages. A lot of sweet emojis coming up. Thank you so much, my dears. You're most welcome, most welcome. See, we stuck to our promise for time, right? हमने extra time नहीं लिया. And any student who feels that apart from the corporate and career aspect, maybe for personal reasons, psychological reasons, you'd like to come to our counselors, or you have a friend, let's say, who needs some help for counseling, don't hesitate to reach out to us. All you need to do is drop us an email at westlark@gmail.com, or you can reach us on 8652811026. Anushka, I request you to just put up our email and phone in the chat. So we'll give you an appointment, or your friend or whoever needs help, we'll just work with an appointment. There are no charges for students, you know that. And our counselors are all trained counselors. And our heart beats for students. I know that sounds like something very cheesy, which you'll find in a Hallmark greeting card, but trust me when I say this, some of you will also know this. In Westlark, when it comes to the student, that's first and foremost priority. Your well-being, your good health, your happiness, your optimism, your ability to turn your potential into actual reality. That's what we are there for. So don't hesitate to let us know. If you want to have any queries, even later आपको कुछ याद आए कि अरे उस दिन मैम ने सेशन किया, मैं पूछना भूल गई, just drop us an email. No formalities whatsoever, just let us know कि आपको क्या पूछना है and we'll help you out. Lot of thanks have come up on chat. There are no questions. So sweet. I can see so many emojis have come up. That's very kind of all of you who have put up. Doesn't mean कि दूसरे के ऊपर कोई pressure है कि मुझे भी thank you लिखना है क्योंकि मेरे friends ने लिखा है. But our thanks to you, and thanks to your institute, thanks to principal ma'am, and thanks to your professors for organizing the session.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your wonderful session. Always very interesting, as usual.
My pleasure, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think most of the students have already started leaving the session. I can see only 57 participants here now.
I know. And they would be having lunch at this point of time, so we'll not hold you back. And जैसे कि मैंने कहा, बाद में भी आपको कोई question अगर सूझे, no problem. Either through your professors or directly to Westlark, you can always reach out and let us know. So thanks a lot. Have a lovely, lovely day, everybody, and all the best for your future. बहुत सारी शुभकामनाएं हर एक student को. Have a great future, students. So yes, goodbye. This is Priya Mukherjee on behalf of Team Westlark signing over and out. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you again. Students, I hope you all have filled both the feedback forms, the one sent by Tia ma'am and the one sent by your class coordinators.